All right, here with Don King, voice of the Jenks Trojan football team for the last 15 years. And Don, just your reaction to the news, was it emotional for you today?
Very emotional. I knew it was probably coming, but yeah, very emotional. Our relationship goes back long before he was actually a head coach in football.
Yeah. What's it been like just to oversee really his whole career?
It's been fabulous. It's been a great ride for not just me, but for a lot of us that have been associated in the program over his 22 years as a head coach.
Yeah. What stands out most?
Well, obviously the championships, but not just the 13 championships, Jeff, but the fact that he was in the finals 18 of the 22 years as a head coach, to me, speaks volumes. But it wasn't just about wins and losses for him. It was as far as being a competitor. But he touched so many kids as a teacher, as a coach, and that's what I think he's most proud of.
Yeah. If you could sum up his career in one word, I know that's hard, what would you pick?
Humbling. I think that's what he would use as well. It's just been blessed and a very humbling career for him.
Yeah. Tell me about how you end up calling the games for Jenks and what it's been like to kind of work with him.
Well, it's been we've been tremendous friends for a long time. He has always had my back. I always feel like he's had, I've had his back. I think there's just a trust factor there between the two of us that it's just been a great friendship.
Yeah. I know coaches, they're not always giddy about doing in-game interviews. They're focused on the game, the opponent, trying to improve at halftime. What's it been like working with Allan?
It's been tremendous. He has always been forthright. He has said he and I have had conversations about situations that he knows that I would never go public with it if it was a situation they were trying to work out because, he trusted me and I trusted him with anything I could ask him and get an honest answer.
Yeah. How about his demeanor? How would you describe?
Well, his demeanor it was always pretty good, but there are times when, he's a little grumpy, and he would tell you that. I don't know that as good of football coach as he was and as good a person as he was, there's probably some sideline referees that would tell you just the opposite because he could work those guys over really well.
For sure. Now, the numbers are just mind-boggling. I mean, 13 state titles in 22 years. Will that ever happen again?
I don't see how it could. Football's just so competitive. But his 13 state championships, 260 wins, top 10 all time in the state of Oklahoma. Just a tremendous winning percentage. All the great players that have gone on through there to college scholarships, onto the NFL. But again, it's not just about wins and losses with him. It was about program players, guys that wouldn't have had a chance or didn't have a chance till their senior year to perform well. He was just as proud of that.
So I know you said that he has your trust and you wouldn't give things away when he told you kind of inside notes, but come on, you got to give me something. What's the secret? What made his team so good?
Well, I think his assistant coaches, he had great assistant coaches. I think 10 have gone on to become head coaches themselves. He let them coach. And I think the fact that he just had his credibility spoke for itself, but those players bought into what he was doing, and they knew that he had their back. I mean, he had their best interests at heart.
Yeah. Just from my experience around Coach, I know he can be lighthearted. How about your best funny story from Coach through the years?
Probably just some of the funny times. He has an extremely dry sense of humor, great sense of humor, great wit. But my most enjoyable times was when he would tell a player to go out and do something, and they would try to improvise on their own and then make this big mistake and then run to the end of the field and try to walk back behind the bench, and he'd go chase them down to make sure he got his point across. Those were some of the great times.
That's great stuff. How about since the ALS diagnosis? I mean, what have you really learned most about Coach since then?
Well, just his faith. There's no question. He has strong faith, and most of us, I would assume, would not have taken it as well. And he has turned a huge negative into as much of a positive as he could with the foundation, with mentoring kids. He just got back from Israel for almost a 2-week mission trip. Over Christmas, he brought a girl in from Honduras. that he had met, that he wants to mentor. He's done a lot of work with Habitat for Humanity. I mean, that's just who Allan Trimble is, and I'm sure he might not be the football coach anymore here in the next few days, but I guarantee you this isn't the last we heard of Allan. He'll continue to mentor kids.
Yeah, it certainly seems like he really, persevered with the football and the disease as long as he possibly could. Obviously, visibly, it was a struggle down the stretch. What was the most difficult part about seeing him struggle with it?
Well, it was just tough. I just think the fact that as the season wore along, how much of a physical toll it took on him. There were some of us that would be surprised if he was going to coach in the press box or continue to try to coach. I mean, none of that would have surprised, I don't think, any of us. But I think he feels in order for the program to succeed, to continue to grow and do as well as it has over his last 22 years, that a new direction was probably needed.
Given that, I know he's going to address his team, and then will meet with us, the media, on Thursday. What's the thing you're looking to find out most when he talks?
Just what he wants to do in the future. He has worked extremely hard over the last several months with the Trimble Strong Foundation. I know they've got some big plans ahead here in the next few months, and anxious to see what we can all do to help that.
I think after the diagnosis, that news came out and the foundation formed and everyone rallied around him. It was clear that his impact has not just been on the football field. How would you describe his full impact, not just on football, but just the Jenks community?
Oh, well, yeah, the Jenks community it's been extremely overwhelming, the support that he has gotten. I think there have been times that he has not seen eye to eye necessarily, maybe with the administration over the last 22 years, but to see what Stacey Butterfield and her staff have done for him, there was a mutual respect between the two, and it's just been tremendous, the community rallying around him.
How about it's kind of the same question, but as far as just the town, the people in Jenks, what does he mean to someone that lives in Jenks, Oklahoma?
Jenks is, even though South Tulsa is part of Jenks, but when you really get into the community, you go downtown, you have lunch, you go to the chili parlor, you go to the barbecue place, Coach is there, and he's talking to a lot of the people that have grown up there. The farmers, the old timers, they come up to him, they visit with him. He's known a lot of these people for a long time. So Jenks still has that feel that it still had back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, this is a tough one, I guess, but how weird will it be to not see Allan Trimble when you're calling the game next year and looking down on the field?
It's going to take a long time to get used to that. Because of what we've meant to each other over the last 22 years plus, because I was there when he was an assistant. So it's going to be strange, not just for me, but for all of us.
And the final one here, Don King joining us. How should people remember what Allan Trimble's done in Jenks, Oklahoma?
Well, certainly the success they've had on the football field and what that has meant to that community. But again, it's not just about wins and championships with him. It's more about what he has done for kids that don't get in the papers, how he rallied around the tragic situation we had back in August with the family, with the car wreck south of Oklahoma City. It is just a lot more about mentoring kids and mentoring families and really being there for a lot of people.
All right. Don King, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.